The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm pretty excited. How about it for Bret Burkhart? Come on. Yes. The 1-year anniversary brings them all back around.
Oh, yeah. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Bret. Thank you. We had great times at KGO Radio, of course, you and I. I built you up from the raw Bret, the guy who was just going in, doing the little, I know, I'm talking about myself right now because I want to remind Bret how important I am. How dare you? They're telling me that I should just let you speak. That's not my style, as you know.
Do you know who I am?
Thank you.
I'm kind of a big
I want to
deal.
remind Bret who I am. So I built you up from this guy who was just doing news breaks into a full-blown personality. And what do? You smartly, I might add, blast out of KGO right before the place disintegrates, and you go to KCBS, and congratulations. That's my recapitulation of events. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and I must say that last week was a heck of a news week, and I was dipping into the Mark Thompson School of Radio last week when we had to ad-lib for half-hour periods of time during the Feinstein Memorial at City Hall. And of course, we had Fleet Week. There were so many things going on. Of course, the McCarthy exit interview. So there were so many instances where I was channeling my inner Mark Thompson, and you taught me so much about just being myself and jumping off the script now and then. So,
well, you are. I think you're a magical kind of personality that does have knowledge of so many things. And my take on you was always just don't get too up into your head about anything. Just let it run. And you are great when you I just think it's all in there, and you're really so gifted. And as a broadcaster, you're so talented. So it's cool to see you having landed so well. And, in truth, you landed, you left KGO on your own, and you landed across the way with a really nice contract and a good deal. And you really were like maybe one of the last guys out of KGO to really, move up, if I can put it that way. So
thank you. I feel so fortunate to be there. And the timing just was amazing. And the interesting thing is it's really full circle for me because my boss over at KCBS is married to one of my best friends who I've known since college, and he's the one who got me into news radio. I was just a light 95 FM playing the 70s and 80s hits, Whitney Houston and all that, and the sister station was News Talk 1060. And so he said, why don't you come over here and do news, because DJs are a dime a dozen. And so I took his advice, and his wife ended up hiring me in a dream job to work with Patty Rising in the afternoons. And it's just amazing.
Right. That's right. So that's your regular thing now, right, Bret?
Yeah. It's never been announced on email, which has always been kind of weird, but I just celebrated my year anniversary as well at KCBS. And Patty and I are just as good friends as we are coworkers. And it's so fun getting to know her because I listened to her for years, as so many people did. And I can't believe I met so many people over at KCBS, but I never had met Patty. And so we hit it off right away. It was really fun.
So let me ask you a question about San Francisco, because we talk a lot about the city and the Bay Area and problems and challenges, and many of the challenges that San Francisco and the Bay Area face, many of them are those that are faced by many big cities right now. I mean, I think San Francisco gets a cheap shot kind of media play, but I also feel as though there's a lot wrong, in San Francisco. So maybe it's appropriate. But I'm a long ramp up to just ask you, what's your take on the city that changes the future? I mean, you report on it every day, and you are in it every day.
And we do have to be careful to balance that story, because it does get a little negative in the headlines. And I feel as though there are some news outlets that tend to focus on the negative instead of the positives. There have been a lot of positives. I mean, they're opening up these pop-up shops in the financial district, which is fantastic. These are businesses that wouldn't normally be able to buy any space, and the incentives that they're offering to fill some of these empty storefronts is pretty amazing. And like you said, every big Bay Area city has these issues with the homeless, with the break-ins and what have you. I mean, just look at Oakland, look at San Jose. It's unfortunate. I will say that they're doing a lot in the fentanyl crisis in San Francisco, which is really encouraging. They brought in the National Guard. They're doing behind-the-scenes investigating, and they're making a ton of arrests. I haven't seen the numbers yet to correlate whether that's reduced the number of deaths, but they are making the arrests, and they're out in force, along with the CHP helping the San Francisco Police Department. So that's some positives. And I've been, as you know, I tweet a picture of San Francisco in the early morning hours, because that's the most beautiful time in the city, in my opinion, and nobody gets to see it. And there's so many beautiful lights reflecting off the bay. And so I try to promote it in that way, because I think people tend to forget about the beauty of the place.
Well, it is a stunningly beautiful city. I'd say arguably one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And you can't lose that. I mean, there is,
right.
I get it. There's smash and grabs going on 500 feet away, but I'm telling you, that vista that and congrats on the Mark Thompson show mug, by the way. That's so strong. Yes. But the vistas are spectacular, and the place has a great energy. I'm sorry, it still has it. I mean, I was just there 2 weeks ago, and so it's a special place still, which, by the way, only makes it more heartbreaking to see these issues and to think of it as a place where people don't want to go now. They don't want to have their conventions. They're worried. Their retailers pulling out. Now, retailers are pulling out for a lot of reasons, and they're hanging it on the hook of San Francisco being dangerous. And they actually just have a different business model now for a lot of these retail establishments. I'm talking about the Walgreens of the world, et cetera. But anyway, to your point, Bret, it's a very special place, and it remains a special place, which is why it's a bit of a heartbreak.
And for me, and I know for you too, because you spent so many years reporting weather on Cron 4 on the streets, living in San Francisco. And I will say, not only my dad grew up in the Richmond district of San Francisco, but my grandfather grew up in San Francisco. My grandfather was, he had a stuttering problem. And here's why. And this is appropriate because we just said goodbye to Dianne Feinstein, who saved the cable cars. And my grandfather, when he was little, saw his mom dragged by a cable car.
Oh my God.
From that moment on, he had a stuttering problem. And I always remember him with a stuttering problem. And that was the reason why, was because the San Francisco cable car. Unfortunately, his mom survived, but it didn't leave him with a speech impediment. And so whenever I see that, that's kind of my hometown. I grew up in the South Bay, but we spent a lot of time traveling to the city, and my dad taking me to his old haunts. And yeah, there's a special place in my heart for the city. And I tell you, whenever I drive across that Bay Bridge and see the skyline, sans the traffic, it's breathtaking. And
sometimes with the traffic, you have a chance to take in the skyline longer than you want to take it in. Hey, Bret, we love you. You know, I felt a real bond and special chemistry with you during the time we were together at KGO. And I love that we're still in touch. I love that you're doing so well. And quick update on family, and I'll let you go.
We have been an empty nester now for about a year. And man, was that an adjustment. The house seems so empty. But what I did was I splurged and installed a Sonos music system, and it sure makes the house not feel so empty anymore. But yeah, the kids are
just filled with that hip hop music that you used to play in the studio. Is that what you're telling me? Wow.
I do about the K-pop moments and all of that stuff.
No, neighbors haven't complained yet about the noise. You're okay. All right.
Not yet.
You will say what?
There are people I work with who love your show, who tune in whenever they can on YouTube, and they were excited that you were going to have me on again. And I am appreciative to have your friendship.
Why can't we get some of those people on instead of you, is what I would say. No, I love you, but I would love to. I'm sorry. I can't let any moment sit like that. You're so lovely to mention that. And look, I didn't know this experiment would work. I just knew that we needed to do something, that we had something, that we'd worked hard on something. I worked very hard on that show that we did.
I know you did.
I built franchises and tried stuff. We were always trying. You couldn't say we weren't, we were phoning it in, man. We were trying things all the time. And
I know.
And so I just wanted to try it over here on YouTube because I thought we had some momentum, and that momentum has carried us for a year, and our audience has supported us, and we're completely, audience supported. So, but I look back on the time I spent with you at KGO so fondly. You're just terrific, and I love that we're still in touch, as I say.
Me too.
Thanks for being here, pal. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.